Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Joe Taylor. This morning, another in the ongoing series of programs presented by the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning. The program, through the Northwest Institute of Research, oversees a grant from the Office of Child Development and Early Learning at the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and the Department of Education. The goal of the program is to improve the outcomes for young children as they prepare for school. John Pozza from the Pennsylvania Keys is the host of the program and is with us throughout the series. Well, right about now, usually, John, I would say, who do we have on the phone or who do we have in the studio as a guest? There's nobody on the phone, and I'm looking at in the studio here, and I just see you. So, John, I guess you're the guest this morning.
I guess I am,
Happy
Joe.
to have you on your own program.
Thank you. We haven't done a solo program without a guest in quite some time. So this is a good chance to catch up on some things that maybe we haven't had a chance to talk about in a little bit more depth.
And I think one thing that people might want to know is a little bit more about your background and not only why you do this program, but why you're so interested and involved in early childhood education. So why? What is the story behind your involvement?
Well, I care about kids. I care about the future of kids and our country. And I know the data is all supportive of it, that the earlier that a child is, nourished and receives the education that they have at an earlier age, the better off they're going to be and the more successful they're going to be in school and in life. So really, I'm interested in not only making sure that kids get off on the right start and are ready for kindergarten, but also once they are in school, making sure that there is the proper continuum of supports as they transition through the various grades.
Now, we are just a day away from April, and April has been designated the month of the young child. What exactly is the significance of the month of the young child, and what are some of the events, some of the things going on that'll take place during the month?
Well, Joe, typically it's not only been a state thing, but it's been a national observance a number of years back. They picked a particular week in the month of April to basically say, you know what, this is a week, do whatever you can to spend time with a child, whether it's someone in your own family, whether it's reading to them, spending time, playing with them, telling stories. And then what happened was, the observance, it's mainly more of a literacy initiative. It kind of branched out, and before you knew it, it became a month-long kind of observance. And in Pennsylvania, to go along with Week of the Young Child or Month of the Young Child, however you want to refer to it as, about 12 years ago, we had a program that was started called the PA One Book Every Young Child program. And it started off as a competition among children's authors and illustrators to submit their proposal to be designated as that year's Pennsylvania One Book. And so there's a state committee that oversees this process. And so now we're in the 12th year, and we designate a children's book that always has some type of a message for children. This year, it's called Daniel Finds a Poem. That's our 2017 PA1 book. The author and illustrator is Misha Archer. We had Misha on the program previously talking about the book. And so what we do is we utilize the 2017 One Book during that week in April or throughout the month to encourage people to go and read this story to children, whether it's in your own home, whether it's a friend's home, whether you can volunteer to be a reader to children at a preschool, at a library, various places. And there's actually a site through the PA One Book program on the website where you can actually volunteer to read at a designated date and time at a particular place that you would like to read to children. And then there is also an opportunity for sites themselves to host a reading, and that's done as well. So we utilize the book to read to the children during the month, and then there are activities that you can do with the children that correspond with the book. So, and as I said, there's always a message with every year's PA1 book. And This year, Daniel Finds a Poem happens to be the first book in the series to introduce poetry, which is kind of new. And the interesting thing about poetry being in Daniel Finds a Poem is that kids will learn that they don't necessarily have to rhyme the end of a sentence with the next sentence. As adults, we learn later in life that poetry isn't necessarily all about rhyming.
You know, you say poetry to a little kid, and the reaction is going to be, ugh, ugh.
Yeah, right.
But I think the interesting thing about this book, when we had Misha on with us, is, okay, you're talking about poetry, something that kids maybe are in awe of or even afraid of, and yet it's in a setting that most kids around here especially would really appreciate. It's out in nature.
That's exactly. And that's the other thing that was brought into the book this year, is appreciating the environment. And Daniel finds his poem and gets inspiration from being outdoors and visiting animals, and that's part of practice in STEM as well, in appreciating the environment and knowing what makes other living things tick and behaviorally and so forth.
Okay, you just threw an acronym out, and I want to ask you about some of them, but let's say with that, STEM.
STEM, for those who don't know, stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And just to clarify, there are those who out there who think, well, wait a second, STEM, what happened to STEAM? And, because we talk about the arts and how important the arts are. So a lot of folks want to add the arts into that acronym. But for the most part, we know what STEM is. It's introducing science and math to kids at an earlier age and how important it is for their future development. And, regarding STEM, it doesn't have to be anything really complicated. Children learn math principles and science principles at a young age, and you may not even realize it.
Now, going back to the PA1 book this year and the author, she, as I understand it, is going to be visiting venues and libraries and whatever here in our part of the state, too,
right,
along with over in the main population centers.
Exactly. Typically what happens is the author of that year's PA1 book, there's a tour that's organized where the author goes throughout the state to various places, libraries, preschools, a number of different venues. And sometimes we may have visits from the author right here in our backyard. Sometimes depends on the scheduling, where the author is actually located, travel things and so forth. But here, the closest appearances where Misha is going to be is actually today. She'll be in Indiana County at the Indiana Free Library in town. That'll be at 12:30. And then she's going to be, there's a big book festival, a children's book festival in Johnstown every year. And she will be appearing on April 1st and April 2nd at the Children's Book Festival. It's going to be at Bottle Works. That's on 3rd Avenue in Johnstown. And then May 3rd, she'll be at the Oil City Library in Venango County at 10. And then she's going to be in Erie County May 3rd, 3 o'clock at the Early Learning University in Edinboro, and at 6 o'clock at Edinboro University in Butterfield Hall. And then the last visit in the northwest part of the state, she'll be at the Warren Library in Warren, and that's on May 4th at 10:25 a.m. So if anyone wants to catch up with Misha, meet her, hear her talk about her book, and ask her questions, you have that opportunity.
And just to clarify, the book isn't going to be just where she is, which is rather limited, as you said. It's going to be all over the place.
Absolutely.
All the libraries, like here in Du Bois and Punxsy and Brockway, will be getting this, and I guess
they'll be doing that.
Schools too.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone gets a copy wherever there is a certified childcare and preschool, and every library, every public library, gets a copy of the book. They also have activities, a guide, and things that they can do with the book. As a matter of fact, wherever, like in just say in Jefferson County, there's one, the Mengel Library in Brockway is the center for the Jefferson County Library Association. So the center of every library association in every county also gets what's called a traveling trunk of things, activities that come with the book. And they could be loaned out to different groups where they utilize these resources for things in the classroom with a child. So that's another thing that folks can do.
I think, I like definition, and every week on the show that you do, you and your guest, almost all of them are professionals in early childhood learning, throw around a lot of acronyms and catching-sounding programs, kind of an alphabet soup of different names of entities and programs and whatever. I think it would be informative for our listeners, and honestly for me too, to get a definition of these names and entities. And I'm going to go back to my opening script here. Okay, I say the Pennsylvania Key, and what else do I say? I say Northwest Regional Key Program. So what are they?
Okay.
What have I been saying all these years?
Well, let's start with the Pennsylvania Key. The Pennsylvania Key is the technical assistance and professional development partner of the State Office of Child Development and Early Learning. And what they do is they administer for all early learning providers, they administer the Keystone Stars, which is a quality rating improvement system to help child care providers in their child cares and preschools. And there are regional offices that do that because, we are a large state with large geographic region to cover. So there is a Northwest region, Southwest, Central, Northeast, and Southeast. So the Northwest Regional Key, which is actually centered in Erie, the office is in Erie, but basically does this type of programming, technical assistance, and PD in actually a 19-county area, which includes Jefferson and Clearfield County. So, that's who the regional keys are.
Okay, I also, from time to time, hear PreK Counts, Childcare Works. What are they?
Okay. PreK Counts, let's start with that. PreK Counts is actually a state-funded, high-quality preschool program. It's probably what most would consider the best preschool program that we have available. It's based on income eligibility for parents to enroll their children there. It's not as tightly it's not a tight window in terms of income to be eligible as Head Start, for instance. It's a little bit more flexible. But those who are eligible to conduct a PreK Counts classroom, among the providers, you have to be a Star 3 or a Star 4, which is a higher quality preschool or childcare, to even be able to qualify to do a PreK Counts classroom.
So this ties back into Keystone Stars.
Yes, it does.
Very top rung of Keystone Stars.
Right.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say they're not the only ones that can, qualify. It's a grant, and you have to apply for it. But schools, for instance, there are schools who have pre-K often have PreK Counts as their classroom. So that's what PreK Counts is. And typically, those classrooms get filled very quickly. So in other words, if you're a parent and you want to enroll your child who happens to be 3 or 4 years of age into a PreK Counts program, you probably would want to look at enrolling them or registering them as early as possible. Now, Childcare Works. What most people know Childcare Works as, you may hear someone say, well, I've got to apply for CCIS in order to get funding to send my kid to childcare or preschool. CCIS, which I just introduced another acronym, is Childcare Information Services. Every county has a location, or if it's not in their own county, it's in the neighboring county that covers them, who is a working parent, and that has income that would allow them to be eligible to get a subsidy to help pay for their child care. They go to your local Child Care Information Services offices and applies. And hopefully they won't be put on a waiting list because it's a program that is in demand. And they're allowed to work and send their child to child care. And the money that would normally pay for someone paying for child care, that goes directly then from the CCIS office to the child care provider, and the parent pays a copay, so to speak. And the program itself is called Childcare Works, so hence the name Works. it's coinciding with someone working and being able to afford childcare.
I recently did a contact program with a woman we had her on the program, Ellen Abramson, and we were talking about the biggest obstacles to getting a child into a quality early learning program, and there were two of them, cost and proximity. And talking about cost, now that is what CCIS would address.
Right.
How would a parent know if they qualify for the subsidy to get their child into a program?
Well, first thing they may want to do is contact your local office. Of course, you could Google Childcare Works, and it'll give you the information online. It'll probably give you the income guidelines. But if you want to talk to a person, for instance, in Clearfield County, Clearfield Borough is where the CCIS office is. Contact them. They actually serve families in Clearfield, Jefferson, and Clarion County. They'll tell you the guidelines, your income guidelines for being able to qualify. And if you qualify, you would first want to certainly fill in an application. The problem is, in north central Pennsylvania, in particular, we are very rural in nature. There's a lot of pockets of the state that are that way. And part of the problem is transportation. So, let's go back to even programs like Head Start, where many of them do provide transportation to get those children to Head Start sites. There are some Head Starts organizations who have a Head Start contract that don't have transportation as a component. So that can make it very difficult for a parent who has a child that wants to enroll their child in Head Start in getting their child to the Head Start unless they're willing to drive a distance. And sometimes that could be, quite a distance. And there are pockets still, being in a rural state like we have here, particularly in the areas in the northern tier that are predominantly rural, where you may live in an area that's quite a distance from the nearest Head Start. So that can be an issue as well.
So we are addressing costs in terms of getting a subsidy. What is being done, or what can be done to address proximity, which isn't the problem here in greater Du Bois necessarily, but you get up into places like Henfield and maybe some other rural areas where it might be a problem. What can be done? What is being done to get some kind of transportation to bring kids together with these centers?
Well, more funding, obviously. When it comes to Head Start anyway, that's a federal program, so we naturally would want to address the issue with our legislators or with our congressmen. But there's also state-funded Head Start as well. We don't have as many state-funded Head Start sites. But it's still, contact your legislature if that happens to be an issue. There are some providers who do not have transportation as part of the program. So I would definitely see if you can, let your voice be heard. But, and the other thing is, if you don't feel there's a quality provider in your neighborhood, and if you're too far away, then you need to address this issue with the providers that are there in your neighborhood to say, can you provide this service? Can you, if you're not participating in Keystone Stars, can you enroll your program in it? Let them know how important that is to you.
So if you had a little, like a little nursery school that was just there operating independently, you could go to the owner of that nursery school and say there's a way for you to upgrade.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. There's the assistance to do that. That's what the Keystone Stars program is all about. It's voluntary right now. But no, you could do that. Tell them how important it is to you. There's incentives that go with a provider participating in Keystone Stars, financial incentives. Let the provider know how important it is for knowing that you want qualified teachers, you want to make sure that it's the best environment for your child.
What's the benefit for the provider?
The benefit for the provider in the Keystone Stars system, there's a rating. Okay, so the rating of Keystone Stars providers can be anywhere from the beginning level of star 1 all the way to a star 4. Okay, so with each increment that they move up, they get incentives. So the site actually gets funding to help that goes back into the operation to with things that they can purchase, whether it's for their curriculum or whether it's even for things that they can do for their staff. And there's in some cases there's funding that will actually pay for based on the educational level of the staff. There are education and retention grants that will go to those individual staff people based on their education level if they are participating in a Keystone Stars.
So this would be a win-win then for the parents of the kids,
Absolutely.
the kids, and the provider too. Governor Wolf's budget is calling for what appears to be a pretty good increase in early childhood education, $105 million. Can you give us a breakout, maybe not in legislative language, but layman's language, of some of the key and important parts of this budget proposal, and how it benefit kids?
Well, first of all, any increase because of the demand and because of there's still many areas that maybe parents aren't able to access these programs. Additional PreK Counts slots. So in other words, even if it could be a new site for offering PreK Counts, or it could be an existing site, but to offer more slots.
So I think we have to clarify too that there is a desired limit to class size in these programs.
Yes, yes, absolutely. In PreK Counts, which is for children aged 3 and 4, preschool, the classroom you have to have one teacher for every 10 children minimum. So in other words, if there's just one more child, you have to have a second teacher in that classroom. So yeah, that's a basic ratio requirement. But so we're looking at not only additional sites, but additional kids that we can serve. Also, more funding for Keystone Stars, early intervention, which is a critical program for addressing kids who are having a problem, maybe like a developmental issue. If that's addressed at an early age, they can often overcome that and still be ready for kindergarten and not fall behind. So that's a critical area as well. So overall, there's many areas that we hope that funding can be applied
So
to.
it looks like we're going to have good news for early childhood education from Harrisburg. Maybe not such good news from Washington, where the education budget, the Trump budget, is seriously slashing funds for education. What kind of impact would that have, John?
We would be taking a major step backward with all the work that we've done over these years, all the research that we know about the impact and the importance, a major step backward. So I certainly hope we need to put pressure. You need to contact your Congress people to let them know that this can't stand.
Well, John, you've been a great guest because this is your show, and you've done a great job, and I really appreciate it. And I think folks have too, to kind of go back and get a primer on what we're talking about here every couple of weeks. And I know you have something else coming up here real soon that you want to
Joe.
mention. You're going to be making an appearance.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick plug. I'm going to actually be doing a town hall talk on the impact of quality early learning. It's going to be on Thursday, April 13th at the Create Cafe on Main Street in downtown Brookville at 7 o'clock. So I'll be presenting, and there'll be a question and answer. So if you want to know how your local community and school district stands in terms of how these quality programs are being utilized and the impact, come to my presentation. I'll be presenting reach and risk data. Again, that's Thursday, April 13th at 7 o'clock at Create Cafe in downtown Brookville.
We don't usually allow plugs on the program, but it's your program, so I hope people will come out for that. Again, thanks so much, John.
Thanks, Joe.
That's our program for today. We'll be back in a month at the same time. In the meantime, you can go online to learn more at papromiseforchildren.com. For John Pozza and the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning, I'm Joe Taylor. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.